That brown envelope from the Department of Veterans Affairs hits your mailbox, and instantly your stomach drops. We've all been there. Most of the time, it's just junk, a newsletter, a form you already filled out, or a generic thank you. But there are specific letters, seemingly harmless, tucked away in the bureaucracy that are silent killers. They look like routine administrative notices, yet they carry the hidden power to stop your monthly disability compensation, your pension, or your educational benefits dead in their tracks. Ignoring these 7 specific pieces of mail is the single biggest, most costly mistake a veteran can make. You need to identify them instantly, understand their hidden threat, and know exactly how to respond before that next payment date arrives and your bank account shows 0. The first, and perhaps most deceptively innocent letter, is the ALS Annual Request for Current Income and Assets. This form is the means test trap, and if you are receiving VA pension benefits, the non-service connected benefits, this piece of paper is the most dangerous thing you will receive all year. It arrives looking like a standard, slightly boring tax form, asking you to detail every dollar earned, every asset held, and every expense paid during the previous year. You might think, my income hasn't changed much, I'll get to it later. That delay is precisely the problem. The VA uses this form, often labeled something generic like the Eligibility Verification Report, to determine if you still qualify for the benefit based on financial need. If you miss the deadline and they give you a shockingly short window, often 60 days. The VA doesn't call you for clarification. They don't send a gentle reminder. They send a notice of proposed termination. Why? Because failure to provide the required financial information means they cannot verify your eligibility under the law. From the VA's perspective, if they can't confirm you meet the means test, they must assume you don't. The payment stops instantly. Reinstatement is a nightmare. It requires refiling the entire financial statement, often with retroactive effective dates, and battling the system to get those missed payments back. Never treat the annual income request as optional homework. It is the annual renewal fee for your pension. The second letter that veterans frequently dismiss as routine is the PAR, Notice Scheduling a Routine Compensation and Pension, JCNP, Re-examination. This letter is an immediate threat to your current disability rating, especially if your conditions are not categorized as static. If your service-connected disability is considered subject to improvement, think certain mental health conditions, some orthopedic injuries, or conditions less than 5 years old, the VA has the right and the mandate to periodically reevaluate you. The letter might use soft language. We are scheduling a follow-up examination to ensure your current care plan is appropriate, or routine reevaluation of your service-connected condition. This sounds supportive, but the true purpose is to determine if your disability rating should be reduced or even eliminated. Missing this scheduled C and P exam is catastrophic. If you fail to appear, the VA does not reschedule easily. Instead, they interpret your absence as a lack of cooperation, or worse, an indication that your condition has resolved and you no longer need the compensation. Within weeks of a missed appointment, you will receive a proposal to reduce or terminate benefits based on failure to report for scheduled examination. This administrative failure is almost impossible to fight after the fact. If you receive this scheduling notice, you must prioritize that appointment above everything else, or immediately request a reschedule with a documented, valid reason. Next, watch out for the unassuming letter titled Verification of Dependents or Change in Family Status. This typically occurs when a dependent child reaches the age of majority, 18 or 23 if still in school, or if the VA receives a notification that a veteran has divorced or remarried. The VA is meticulous about dependency status because each qualifying dependent adds a specific dollar amount to the veteran's monthly compensation. The letter often asks for updated school enrollment verification, confirmation of marital status, or proof of custody. The trap here is twofold. First, the veteran assumes the VA already knows the status, and second, they often confuse this with other, less urgent forms. If a child ages out of eligibility and the veteran fails to provide the required updated school enrollment documentation, the VA will stop the additional dependent pay. More dangerously, if the VA suspects a dependent is no longer legitimate, perhaps they cross-reference your records with Social Security data and find a discrepancy, they will freeze the entire payment until the status is clarified. If they overpay you because a child aged out 3 months ago and you didn't report it, the next letter will be a debt notice, which brings us to another deadly threat. The fourth silent killer is the notice of intent to offset or recoup overpayment. This is often the result of one of the previous administrative failures, but it can also arise from simple VA error. You might receive a letter detailing a debt, perhaps a few $1,000s, stating you were overpaid for a period 5 years ago due to a clerical error or a delayed reporting of income. The veteran's instinct is often to panic or ignore the bill, thinking, they made the mistake, why should I pay? However, this letter is not a standard bill. It is a legal notification that the VA intends to begin offsetting your future payments to collect the debt. The letter will specify the date the offset begins and the amount they plan to deduct each month. If the debt is large enough, the offset amount can easily reduce your monthly check to zero for an extended period. The critical element of this letter is the waiver request window. This letter is your one chance to formally request that the VA waive the debt, arguing that repayment would cause financial hardship or that the error was entirely the VA's fault. If you miss the 30-day deadline to file the waiver or the appeal, the collection process starts automatically, and stopping it becomes infinitely harder. Always respond to a debt notice immediately, even if it feels unfair. Moving into more subtle territory, the fifth letter to dread is the address verification and residency confirmation request. This letter sounds like simple housekeeping. We need to verify your current mailing and physical address. In the digital age, this request is a major red flag signaling a potential fraud investigation or a determination that the VA has lost contact with you. If the VA sends a crucial letter, like a C&P exam notice or a rating decision, and it is returned as undeliverable, they immediately flag your file. If they cannot confirm a reliable address, they begin the process of labeling the veteran unreachable. This is a mechanism designed to stop payments to veterans who may have passed away or who are fraudulently collecting benefits while residing outside the country without proper notification. The VA will send this verification request via certified mail, demanding a signature confirmation and a prompt response. If you fail to respond within 60 days, or if the VA receives multiple pieces of returned mail, they will implement a suspension of payments due to lack of current address. They assume you are no longer entitled to the funds because they cannot legally notify you of your status or requirements. If you receive a letter questioning your address, respond immediately, not just by phone, but by sending a documented physical response via certified mail to prove you are alive and reachable. The sixth alarming piece of correspondence often slips through the cracks because it seems like macro-level policy rather than personal action. The Notice of Proposed Rulemaking or Policy Change. This letter is rarely addressed to an individual. Rather, it's often a general announcement or a notice published in the Federal Register, which the VA is obligated to send to potentially affected veterans. This type of notice signals that the VA is considering changing the criteria for a specific benefit, the definition of a service-connected condition, or the methodology for calculating payments. For example, years ago, changes to the presumptive conditions list for Agent Orange exposure were preceded by such notices. While this letter doesn't stop your payment, today, it is the advanced warning that your specific benefit category is under review and might be eliminated or significantly altered in the near future. Veterans who ignore these policy notices miss the crucial public comment period where they can provide input and evidence. By the time the rule is finalized and the VA starts sending out individual reduction letters, it is too late to influence the decision. Reading these policy updates is essential for proactive defense of your benefits. It allows you to gather updated medical evidence or seek legal counsel before the rule change takes effect and threatens your current rating. Finally, the seventh letter that demands immediate, frantic attention is the confirmation of banking or direct deposit change. This is an administrative confirmation, and it looks like a simple receipt. The letter states something like, effective date. Your monthly compensation will be deposited into account number XXXX. The critical danger here is if you did not initiate that change. If you receive this letter and you haven't recently updated your bank information, this is a massive, flashing red signal of identity theft or administrative interference. A scammer may have gained access to your VA account or submitted fraudulent documents changing your payment destination. If this letter is accurate, your next payment will go straight into the hands of a thief. You must not wait for the payment date to confirm. If you see this notice and you didn't authorize the change, you need to call the VA Financial Services Hotline immediately and place a fraud alert on your account. Delaying this response by even 24 hours can mean the difference between recovering a stolen payment and losing a month's worth of income permanently. This is the only letter on this list where the threat isn't bureaucracy, it's outright financial sabotage. These 7 letters, the income verification, the C&P scheduling notice, the dependency audit, the debt offset, the address confirmation, the policy change, and the unauthorized banking notice, are all designed to look like standard paperwork, but they are in fact administrative weapons. The VA operates on the principle that if they notify you, they have fulfilled their legal obligation. They do not hold your hand. They do not use gentle language. If you receive any of these notices, the clock is ticking, and the penalty for inaction is the cessation of the very income you rely upon. The key to maintaining your benefits is simple. Open every single VA envelope the moment it arrives. Understand the deadline it imposes, and if it asks for information or action, respond immediately and always keep a copy of your response. Knowledge is the only shield against the silent bureaucracy that can stop your payments without a word of warning. Don't let a piece of paper that looks harmless become the reason your payments suddenly stop. Be vigilant, be responsive. Your financial stability depends on it.